Boom. We are alive, ladies and gentlemen. It is good to be here with you again. Monday morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you might be in the world. Maybe it's even your Tuesday, I guess. Maybe it's to be a Wednesday by the time you listen to this. We hope you're having a good time. The bull market is doing very well. And what we like to do is kind of measure the sentiment in the markets through supply and demand analysis. Now, we're going to be doing that pretty much right now. So we're going to dive in and take a look at Bitcoin, our leading North Star, I guess, which probably makes Dogecoin our Southern Cross. But nonetheless, Bitcoin is our north and guiding star here while we're kind of flying through the ether. Is it a very important model? First off, I think for a long time people have made the mistake of thinking money and currency are the same thing. Clearly, they're not. Currency is designed to be inflated, and money should not necessarily be designed to be inflated at all. I don't know how you'd store that value then. It seems a little bit difficult. And this is kind of one of the main conversations around why Bitcoin is such an important part of our portfolio. Like a balanced breakfast, Bitcoin is kind of like all the important things you want in there. And there's a reason for that. And it's a primary driver. Yet I want to make sure that people understand that all these names I have in the top of the list, from Cardano to Serum to Avalanche, one of the important parts to recognize is that at one point Bitcoin was a lot more risky and the room for upside was significantly higher. The room for upside here is still very high. Let's say maybe in 10 years Bitcoin's worth $14 million. Well, that's pretty amazing, isn't it? And I think it's important to keep that kind of macro perspective. That way you know what's coming and you are, I guess, to some degree or another, prepared to get there. You know, a lot of the times people will jump around in positions. They'll be like, oh my God, I want to jump from Solana into 1 inch and then from Matic into Kava. And if you've been with us since the beginning of the market, actually just taking positions and being patient for the market cycle to complete has been the best idea that you could have probably followed. And there's a reason for that, is because all of this kind of chaos in the center here, this dramatic swing down 30% and then up 50% and then down 40%, is designed to basically shake out the retail hands as the stronger hands accumulate this asset. Now, things like Ethereum are much closer to a raw venture capital play. You know, Ethereum's been around for a few years. It's building its track record. Because of Ethereum, we have this unique thing called the DeFi sector. And there are breakoffs of how Ethereum operates, what it does, because Ethereum is basically a breakoff of what something like Bitcoin can do. So you've got Avalanche, which has been another favorite of ours, and the charts look great. Now, what's unique is, and I wanted to go over this kind of as a primary driver, is that since the addition of the DeFi sector to our thesis in, what is it, basically August, September, October, because I kind of missed the evolution of understanding how some of these new, I don't know, technologies work, I guess, to some degree. And well, fair enough. There's a lot of stuff going on. So what I've been doing lately is watching the DeFi sector as a whole, because many of my plays and my interests are actually in the DeFi sector. And what's really exciting, for those of you that are in the private group, you'll recognize we've been following this trading range in the group for some time, but we've just broken above the top of our trading range here. I believe we're about to see a big new wiki crazy moment in the DeFi sector. And it'll probably run alongside Ethereum, as the DeFi sector and Ethereum are actually pretty closely commingled, right? Now, as we move through the rest of the basket, we see synthetics in a very similar reaccumulation pattern. Balancer also in a reaccumulation pattern. Rook just had a great blowout today from its downward reaccumulation pattern as well. A nice big sign of strength on Rook here too. And what I wanted to go over is that the DeFi perpetuals is basically a basket of a bunch of tokens in the DeFi sector. And what I like about this is I want to measure the strength of this one particular sector because I think it's the most interesting at the moment. And it's where I think the most interesting things are happening. Not that I don't think Bitcoin is fun and exciting. I just think that there are, at least in my mind, things that are more interesting. Maybe I've just known Bitcoin too long and I'm like looking for a new fling. Who knows? Point of this being, the DeFi perps right now is showing us a lot of strength above the box. Sorry, not a lot of strength, but our first sign of strength above the box. And that's important to me for a bunch of reasons. The least of which is the fact of, again, what we see in the single area of the DeFi sector. When you look at what's happening with Rook, even serum. I was going to say synthetics, but not too far off. These beautiful reaccumulation patterns taking place right now in the whole of the DeFi sector almost. So currently this is SRM, and look, it's taking place in Cardano. So when I look at the DeFi perpetuals and I see that we've got this really nice clear structure, and even though Cardano is not in this DeFi perpetuals, the whole of the market is sizing up for what I think is going to be its kind of last and final push. And when I say that, I don't want to underestimate it either. I don't want to think, oh, it can only go X high, because I made that mistake back in August when we were buying Binance, for instance, at around $14 to $20. And I kept being like, this Binance is amazing. Think about how much community they've got. Think about how big it's going to be. We were making speculations about the Binance chain and BSC way before they even came out with it. So it was a great investment at that time, and it did extraordinarily well. The problem is I closed out my principal far too early. I was not patient enough for that whole ride. And so for the last little bit of the market cycle here, I want to make sure I'm letting the market tell me instead of me trying to decide what the market's going to do before it happens. Because I definitely made mistakes that cost me a lot of money just by not staying really heavy in the positions that I had already accumulated. Because of my strategy of removing my principal, I removed it too early. So it's good. Always be learning. It's an important function. So right now, Avalanche showing some strength. I would really like to see again Avalanche close above $36 here and not get pushed back down into the $33 area, because we've seen a lot of resistance in that $33 area being built right now. But again, across the board, we've seen this kind of nice, healthy growth cycle from the PDFs we put out in early December, late January. You've got 150% on band, which just seems minuscule nowadays. M-Stable is actually looking quite strong here. Again, multiple times testing this bottom with higher lows. I really like seeing that. I did throw out a line here. 1 inch 2, nice move up into the resistance and coming back down to test the top of the VPR. Again, with this type of stuff, I don't have a huge line out in 1 inch right now, but it's sufficient. I do like these plays. And again, I think my overall sentiment here is that, again, Solana is another beautiful one. This SOS, very tiny backup phase, and this boom, secondary SOS. So we see that the whole market is actually bullish still, very bullish, especially in the alternative sector. I think for Solana that was almost 100% since our last update. Yeah, 100%. And there's been even bigger explosions in there too, right? And it's across the board. Even GRT today, from its basically the falling wedge, is up 30% and almost 60% from its basically its spring, what I would consider its spring. So because there's all this strength, because the DeFi sector is looking so strong, and because Bitcoin is basically bubbling up and sticking above the area of least resistance, which is around $50,000 to $60,000 here, I believe we're about to see the start of this kind of face melting market move in over the next few months. So we're up high. A lot of people know what DOT is. Random friends of mine who work in the restaurant are like, oh, I got some DOT and I got some Dejabau and Chaburdaboop. So we're near a top. We're near the top, right? A lot of people are buying. A lot of retail is here, clearly. I had a girl who reached out to me to try to tell me what she thought the next coin that was going to pump was going to be. She reached out to tell me what she thought I should do. We're definitely near top. Okay, so because of that, we generally want to be quite weary, and especially like Polkadot is a nice example here too, where we see this kind of upthrust, or what could be an upthrust, where distribution is not that far off. Primarily, though, the supply doesn't show that to me. So again, trying to argue against the bullish case. Even here on Polkadot, where we witnessed a little bit of a push up into resistance, what I would consider to be an upthrust. The supply really hasn't met that we'd want to see for this to be a distributional pattern. The supply should usually be equal or equivalent to the primary shakeout, almost the opposite of a spring effectively. You should have a significant amount of supply similar to the primary support and shakeout areas that comes into this upthrust, and we just don't see that. We see a significant level lower here where the upthrust is again pretty significant spread in between the supply that came in. So this doesn't look distributional to me. And again, across the board, you have these really nice defined structures on almost every single play. So I'm leaning very, very bullish for the last bit of this market. And again, because we have so many players here now, revenue generating businesses, things like FTT. Where is FTT? FTT, I'm a huge fan of. I should have bought hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of it next time. I really like FTT. I'm a big fan of Sam and Alameda Research. I've pretty much started buying up in mass everything that they touch. Serum is along that line as well. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the FTT token. Here we go. Okay, FTT instead of Solana. So FTT we've been following as well, and it's in a rising gradient bottom. So one of the sentiments we've talked about, and we've kind of looked at this with Bitcoin and Ethereum before too, is this that you have these kind of stacked trading ranges that take place. So imagine this is Bitcoin, right? You've had this up, this down, this up, this down, and now we're here. We're likely going to get another breakup. And I believe that this is, again, in effect, this rising gradient bottom. So these are highly, highly bullish scenarios. FTT token is a revenue generating business, right? FTX generates a lot of revenue. They also reduce your fees and they give you a bunch of perks if you keep the FTT token. So there's a very sound reason to own FTT token as far as I can tell. So I accumulated a bunch around a $32 mark. Should have been hundreds of thousands of dollars worth, but I guess not. Next time, Tio. Here, again, I think that this was the spring, and look at BTC's structure, right? Here's this rising gradient pattern we had potentially talked about, and the witness of something very similar. So I wanted to point this out kind of as a finality for today's episode. You see this rising gradient bottom take place here. Now, a big part of the question was, is this a spring right in the middle of the box? And do we get this kind of blowout top? And it looks like FTT is going to lead the way with that, where I think we're going to probably butt up with our backup around this area, maybe between $49 and $56. And I think FTT is going to go for a major run. Think about how high Binance token is, and Solana, Serum, and FTT. They just have they're much better products, much better services than Binance in orders of magnitude. In my opinion, their service and product is so much better. I don't even really like Binance in comparison. Like FTT or FTX is just a way better platform. If you haven't signed up to it, go to arcanebear.com/FTX because it is the best place to manage your wealth. Okay, that's it. That's the end of today's story. I hope that makes sense. I'm very bullish. We see, again, multiple lines of bullish behavior, and again, especially in this beautiful DeFi chart, even though what appears to be a nice double bottom right now into this kind of these rising patterns we've seen break out before. Very bullish. I'm very bullish right now, but only for the finality of the market. Obviously, for those of you that are new to this ecosystem, if you're new to investing, be patient. Don't throw all your money in at once. We're in the middle of the bull market. We don't know how high or how low we will come and go. So patience is going to become one of your best educators. And remember, one of the biggest problems for the new investor, the sickness, the disease that you have is this over-emotional, just over trading in general, not even just over emotional, just over trading. And in fact, that there's a clear, easier way to do that where you can acquire a hell of a lot more profit and do a hell of a lot less. And we've built a beautiful community that helps support and build this type of educational section. So if you like trying new things, if you consider yourself adventurous, go to arcanebear.com/private and join our private group. There is a no risk policy. That would basically means if you spend money to sign up, you're not happy, we'll give you money back. So no risk refund guarantee. We've only had a few people actually ask for a refund out of the almost 1,000 people signed up now, which is just fantastic. Shout out to the Private Bear family. And for those of you that are already part of the private group and are listening to this, if you haven't joined the Discord channel yet, please do that. That's where I kind of chat every day with all of you guys. And I know there's a bunch of you that haven't joined, and I would love for you to join so that I can chat with you. We do a bunch of educational, we do random webinars. Like sometimes they're just impromptu chats where I want to talk and see what's going on. So jump in there if you are a private member, because I know a few of you guys haven't even joined the private group. I guess you're happy, means you're probably happy with the newsletter, but nonetheless, join in. I want to chat with you in our spare time. So if you haven't yet, go to all these links in the area down below here and follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and you follow us on YouTube here where we're at right now. Fantastic. Thank you guys all for supporting us. I'll take a look at a few of your guys' thoughts and questions before I do jump off this today. Let's take a look at what you say. So Be Fair says, we're buying all these coins, but they really do nothing. I'm going to sell. So this is totally incorrect. FTT is a perfect example of this. FTT will likely be moving regardless of what Bitcoin's doing. It's a revenue generating business. You should keep that in mind. Not all of them are revenue generating businesses, and a lot of them are built off just hype and basically buying and selling, which is known as pumping and dumping. But more importantly, just like in 2017, 2018, when Bitcoin was on a down cycle, Link continued to go up and actually was starting its bull market. So that is not true, although that is probably a true sentiment for a good number of random tokens out there. It is not true at large. So it's probably important to keep that in mind. Let's see. I mean, if you say, look how far up BNB is, it's similar gains to FTT. Yeah, that's kind of similar. I think FTT has a lot more market share to take over. People don't realize how shitty Binance is in comparison with what Sam has built. And I think just over time, people that actually like managing real amounts of wealth, but I mean, Binance has tried to keep building other products, and then they forgot what their core product is. They're like, oh, we do stocks now too. I think Sam is going to blow CZ out of the water over the long term. Personally, they just built a better product, like period. Everything that they've built looks better, feels better, tastes better. They don't treat me like a child. I actually feel like it's a professional platform. Anyways, I don't know. So I like FTX. That's basically what it comes down to. If I didn't like their product so much, I wouldn't say I did. But it's just been working really, really well for me, right? Any thoughts on Pi cycle indicator? Yeah, there's a bunch of ways to tell that we're close to a top. I don't even need charts. Like, I could do it without the charts. I could clearly just figure out pretty close to where we are just by retail sentiment. The fact that Hacks UK, it's probably your first time ever looking at markets. I'm just making an assumption here, and you're asking me about a Pi cycle indicator, and you know probably very little about markets in general. So this is a sign to me that we're near the top. So I've never looked at the Pi cycle indicator, but I can bet you it tells you that we're near a top because you just asked me that question. Does that make sense? I hope that doesn't sound offensive, but I'm assuming Hacks UK, you're probably relatively new here. There are a bunch of ways to measure tops. And more importantly, the bigger question is, well, for how long is it a top? What happens 5 years from now? And I think keeping a macro perspective is hyper important. It is so easy to be a short-sighted investor and lose out on gains. One good investment that you don't touch for 10 years can yield astronomical results. So don't fuck around. The light is still green, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tio with the Arcane Bear. Thank you all for joining us today. We will see you on the next episode. Remember to give us your comments, your likes, your dislikes, whatever it might be. Share us on all the social media platforms in these links down below. That's it. Stay happy, stay healthy, cuddle your dogs, give your family, give your family and loved ones hugs and kisses and shit, and plant a tree, dig a hole, frolic in the grass. I don't know, just enjoy life. Be happy with where you are right now, because we've got a journey ahead of us still. Stay with the Arcane Bear, and we'll see you on the next episode.